Okay, should be good. Oh, well, I'm not gonna wait super long for anybody to join in because I know that Super Bowl's about to play right now in the next 30 minutes or so. Try to get this done before Super Bowl actually starts. Look like I got some shit in my beard. Oh, there we go. I think I got it out. But anyway, so we got chapter. Let me see. How do I go to the thing? Oh, they must have added some new stuff. I see some new things up here. What does this do? Huh. I don't know. But anyway, chapter 4, 65. About to get into it. So we know last chapter ended with the how did the last chapter end? Last chapter was shit. I already forgot. I don't even remember what last chapter was. Last chapter. What the hell happened last chapter? It wasn't with. It wasn't with Cecilia, right? Cecilia wasn't the last chapter when she trapped all the people and stuff, right? Oh, I remember. I was about to say, like, yo, was the last chapter that forgettable for me? That I just like completely forgot what happened. What's up, Vasquez? What's up? Glad to have you. Glad to have you here. Like I said, I wanted to get the stream going before the Super Bowl started. Not sure how many of you guys are watching the Super Bowl, but I'm gonna check it out. I've been following the football stuff, so I'm gonna check it out. But I'm not like super duper like into like I gotta watch it live. I can't miss any second, you know. But anyway, I do want to try to get this finished pretty quick. I know a lot of you guys already probably read the chapter, and I'm sure you guys can let me know if you thought the chapter was great or was it okay, it was cool. Because some of you guys let me know some other times where you're just like, oh, this chapter was crazy. Oh my god. You know, but so last chapter was Kara. That's how I forgot. Once I thought about Kara, I'm just like everything kind of came back her uh with her powers, you know, her powers and her fucking spell forms and stuff going crazy. And, you know, I guess just forcing her to the way it worked was it was forcing her to, you know, follow Agrona's orders, or if you're going to resist, your spells is pretty much going to go crazy and kill you, and I guess some of the people around you too if they get too close, but basically kill you though. So that was able to not happen because of Ellie, and also because she ended up, you know, recognizing that the new spell form that she had wasn't in Agrona's control because it wasn't given to her by, you know, the regular process. So because of that, she was able to use that spell form to like exhaust her mana. So that way, her regular spell forms didn't have any more. I don't know if you want to call it runes or spell forms. They kind of go back and forth, but she was able to use it to exhaust her mana, so that way her regular spell forms wasn't able to go crazy and kill her. But yeah, then Ellie had gave her some of her mana, and then she used her own mana to suppress Kara's mana. So anyway, I remember kind of how that ended. So. But now we about to get into this chapter. This chapter, which I'm guessing is going to be just another. Where's a cat? Stray cat. I guess it's going to be just like another like perception of. Let me show you this cat. Can I show you this cat? Wait, there you go. It's like right there in the corner. Just stray cat. Anyway, so I'm guessing it's going to be another perspective of just, you know, another area that is getting attacked, and we kind of see what's going on. And I saw that that Jasmine was one of the people that was one of the starting point of views, Jasmine Flansworth. So I'm curious to see what happens. I wonder how long it's actually going to be before we go back to Arthur. I'm guessing we're going to still probably get a couple more chapters of just kind of like the aftermath of all the shit that Agruna's doing, right? But anyway, let me stop waiting. Hurry up and get through this. I ain't gonna hurry, but I'm gonna try to get through it faster, not take an hour and a half like I do on most videos. But okay, so Jasmine Flamesworth. Hopefully, my reading skills today, because you know it switches up. Hopefully, it's pretty cool. I haven't been talking too much, so my voice should be all right. But anyway, so Jasmine Flamesworth. As the men surged violently off to the east, another dragon flew over the wall, speeding away with frightening urgency. Okay, so yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, I also remember she was trying to warn Vakajor or whatever, and all the dragons were gone. And I know some people were speculating, I forget who said it, but some people were speculating that maybe all of the dragons are gone back to Ephiodus, and I'm just like, no, I don't think they went to Ephiodus because they need to get through the rift in order to get to Ephiodus, and right now the rift is being controlled by Cecilia. So I don't think that they could have gone back to Ephiodus. I think that they're probably all going to try to attack Cecilia in the bubble barrier that she had made. And so, but I remember that. That was another thing with the dragons. So she's seeing dragons flying off with frightening urgency. I glanced over at Helen but found no answers. She was just as uncertain. She was just as uncertain as I was. The wall's defenders, adventurers from guild halls all over Sapin, lined the top of the colossal structure, staring nervously eastward over the beast glades. There was little we could do except watch and hope nothing approached. But it seemed like Arthur's caution was borderline Is that? Hold on. How do you say this fucking word? It has to do with like the future, right? Prescient. Yeah, I knew it had something to do with the future. Having her showing knowledge of events before they take place. Yeah, I knew it had something to do with like being able to see the future or predict some shit or whatever. Okay, it hadn't. I don't see that word a lot. Anyway, it hadn't even been a full. I think I've seen it before reading this story though. It hadn't even been a full day since he went into his refuge beneath the wall. Lance Micah Earthborn. Okay, so Micah's there. So I wonder how much stronger these lances are, man. I hope we get some lance fights so we can see what their abilities are compared to like the retainers and scythes and shit. So Lance Micah Earthborn came down from where she had been flying high above, hovering in the open air in front of us. Her stone eye, black as the cloudy night sky, gave her a fearsome look. That was one of Vakajor's guards. I'm certain of it. Unbelievable. If they left the cities undefended, she trailed off with a sigh and a shrug. By rock and root, what exactly am I going to do about it? But they shouldn't be leaving their posts. The rift must be under attack, so they're going to defend it. The only thing that makes sense, really. So she knows about the rift. I didn't know that she knew about the rift. If there is a force in this world that can defeat the dragons, then this is all for naught anyway, Helen said matter-of-factly. As far as us, all we can do is the job that was entrusted to us. Arthur lies vulnerable beneath our feet. We need to keep him safe and whole long enough for him to accomplish his goal. That boy's been fighting for us since he was 14 years old. Now it's our turn to fight for him. That's true, man. That's facts. That bro, man, Arthur's been fighting. And here's my thing, though. Here's my thing. And this is like part of the reason. Like I've been listening to other stories and shit, and I'm gonna make some more reviews about some other shit that I've been listening to. Maybe some recommendations. Maybe just kind of give you like a, my thoughts on some of the other stuff I've been listening to. But that's the reason why I love this story too. Is that just how great of a main character Arthur is, and like this motherfucker has been fighting for them since the day he didn't fucking came out the womb, to be honest. And I feel like he does not get the appreciation that he deserves. Like he doesn't get, he gets the respect from like the older people. But you know what I would have loved to have seen? I thought that would be a nice touch for the story. Is that he needs to get more appreciation from the younger people, from just like the regular people. Like, we don't see a whole lot of regular humans and see like what they're doing on a daily basis. But like, I would love to see like a scene where, you know, Arthur's doing some shit, or he's like a lance or something, and like you got like the children or the groups that's like you know, like maybe like 4 or 5 years younger than him, or maybe kids or whatever, looking at him and like, oh, I want to be just like Arthur when I grow up, or I want to be just like him, and you know, him getting that admiration from like the younger people and shit. Just like, I just feel like he doesn't get the amount of appreciation and respect. Like, everything he done from taking out Lucas when Lucas was killing everybody, from saving his classmates inside the dungeon back when that fucking one beast came and went crazy, and you know, he had to help Curtis with the spell to like to open up the cave so everybody can get out, and then the shit with the one chick who can control glass, I forget her name, but like that happening, him becoming a lance, and him fighting on the front lines with the rest of the people, and he saved the one guy who was grieving over the girl who got killed. Like, and then what he did at the wall, like, I mean, he done so much shit. It's just like, where's the appreciation? Where's the respect? He gets the respect from Burian and stuff, but like, where's the appreciation, man? Like, why does she have to even say this? Everybody should be like, oh yeah, we gotta fucking defend Arthur. He's been saving our lives for the last 10 years, you know? Like, I don't know. You know, I want to see like the kids be like, oh yeah, Arthur's incredible. I want to be just like him. Let's fight to defend Arthur. Like, you know, something like that. I think that'd be cool. But let me continue. See, I said this shit was gonna take, you know, I try to beat like an hour, but it might end up being over an hour. So what was I gonna say? The only thing that makes sense is the force. Okay, so the force in this world. Okay, so yeah, it's our turn to fight for him. Lance Micah nodded gravely. He's our best hope, dragons or no dragons. I wish he was here now, Angela Rose said, leaning over a what the fuck is that? Is that crenolation? Crenolation? I think that's how I say that. Let me see. Crenolation. I said it right. My English is not completely terrible. Anyway, and looking down, whatever happens out there, I'd be a lot less scary. I think that's it, not I'd. It'd be a lot less scary if I knew our resident Lance Godspell. I don't know why this is being read like so weird by me, but let's see. So Angela Rose said, leaning over crenolation and looking down, whatever's happening out there, it'd be, or I keep saying, yeah, it'd be a lot less scary if I knew our resident Lance God. I don't know why this is so hard for me to like read. Was protecting us, and not the other way around. Lance Micah scoffed. Well, you'll have to make do with just me, but I've been. What's that? Angela asked, leaning a little farther out and staring into the trees. There's something moving in the shadows. The lance flew 20 or so feet away, then cursed and wheeled around. Man, your points. The enemy is dozens, hundreds of spells erupted from the shadows of the trees. It shouldn't have been possible. No sizable force could move so quietly and without a glimmer of mana signatures. And yet somehow the Elacrians were right on top of us. Lance Micah battered away a handful of spells and dodged others while conjuring plates of stone to deflect as many more as possible. Bolts of fire and lightning, spears of ice and air, bullets of every element collided with the front of the wall or the gates far below, while more spells were aimed at the adventurers standing atop the structure. Like ants, hundreds of Elacrians poured out of the trees that were cut back a couple feet from the base of the wall to provide better line of sight to the ground. Not that it helped. Spells began to rain from the top of the wall, but shields of a dozen different shapes and colors absorbed or deflected most of the damage. All around me, adventurers were shouting for orders or running to get to their positions. Caught out of place by the suddenness of the assault, Helen was directing traffic, but she had her bow in hand. and with every order shouted, she loosed an arrow down into the oncoming army. Okay, so they snuck up on them. So they're caught off guard. So they better do some more damage. You must be new. That one fit dude. What up, though? I haven't heard you before. But yeah, so they had they ambushed them pretty much, caught them off guard, caught them with their pants down, so to speak. And now we're gonna see kind of who's gonna be leading this group of enemies. Because right now it's just hundreds and hundreds of spells, so it's probably just a bunch of regular people or regular soldiers, I should say. So she was directing traffic and she was loosing some arrows. Angela, you're supposed to be with Durden at the vault, Helen ordered, letting off another shot. Angela Rose hesitated before nodding and hurrying away, pushing past other adventurers who were rushing to the wall's edge to start casting their own spells. There was too much traffic to wait for the long elevator, so she leaped down a flight of stairs. They got elevators? She leaped down a flight of stairs and vanished from sight. A round blade of wind hissed through the air between Helen and me, forcing us both to dodge away. It clipped the conjurer across the side of his neck behind us, taking him to the ground with a surprised yell of pain, then curved around and came back. Oh shit, so this is like a boomerang type of wind blade. I caught it on a wind-imbued dagger and deflected it back into the direction it had came from, but it carved a wide arc through the air and returned once more, this time bearing down on Helen. A shield of dark rock appeared in front of her, catching the disc, but shattered under the force of its impact. A mana-infused arrow hissed through the remaining rubble, carving its long arc down into the army below. I didn't see who the arrow struck, but the cutting disc of wind attribute mana dissolved only a moment later. Damn, so was that Helen? I'm guessing that might have been Helen who shot an arrow and got rid of the person who was actually in charge of that spell. See, my GPS might start talking again, so let me turn it off. A shield of dark, shield of dark rock appeared. It dissolved a moment later. Below, I saw a black blur speed away from the enemy forces. Then a cacophonous crack rent the air, followed by trembling of solid stone beneath my feet. A single towering, broad-shouldered, horned man has stepped forward from the enemy's front line. Okay, so who's the person leading the charge? Is it Dragoth? Is what I'm thinking. Horned man stepped forward, or it could be that one dude who was training under Ceres. It could be him too. Or who used to train under Ceres and then he like betrayed her and shit. He stepped from the enemy's front line. The black streak had come from him. Now a sphere of gleaming darkness, solid black metal, appeared in front of his outstretched hands before again flying at the reinforced gate at the wall's base. Another crash, another tremble. A surge of mana responded, buttressing the structure's stone and metal with magic. The reinforcement is holding, someone shouted, their words heavy with relief. But for how long? Helen asked under her breath. A brightly burning comet appeared in the sky above the battlefield, hovering. Who is this? Hovering for only an instant before plummeting down toward the man. So they got back up. I had to look away from the brightness. Who the fuck could be a comet? A burning comet appeared in the sky? Maybe somebody who can fly? I had to look away from the brightness, but the following flash and concussive blast nearly knocked me off my feet. Byron. Maybe Byron. So I had to look away, but the following flash and concussive blast nearly knocked me off my feet. I grabbed the soldier next to me, steadying myself and her at the same time, then returned my gaze to the battle. The ground all around the horned man and the Alacrian front line was scorched and blasted, but he didn't seem harmed at all. In fact, though it could have been the distance playing tricks on me, it looked like he was grinning. With a whip-crack flourish, he sent another projectile at the gates, and the wall trembled. Not long enough, I told Helen, already moving. Instead of wasting... Okay, let pause this for just a second. Pause this for just 1 second. All right. Okay. So, not long enough. So they're holding, but not long enough. Not long enough. I told Helen already moving. Instead of wasting time with. Yeah. Wait, I think I'm right. Okay. Instead of wasting time with the elevator or even the stairs, I bolted across the top of the wall, planted 1 foot firmly on a Merlon, and leapt out into the open air. The buildings of the wall's interior town were far below, but they rose toward me rapidly. Concentrating air attribute mana beneath 1 foot, I caught some of my own momentum, slowing me down precipitously. I think I said that right. Before my weight broke down. I repeated this again with the altering foot, and then yet again, like I was running down the air. I was running down the air itself. Despite flying down the wall's interior side at great speed. That's crazy she can do that shit. When I hit the ground a few seconds later, I didn't burst apart on the hard stone, but instead pushed the collected momentum forward into a dead sprint toward the interior of the main eastern gates. Has she done this shit before? That's pretty fucking wild. Dozens of adventurers were already gathered there. Conjurers holding fireballs in their bare hands or swirling with freezing air next to augmenters imbued with mana. Some wrapped in stone or burning weapons. Stone pillars had been pulled up from the ground to support the gate, and the soil was grown over the venomously green thorny vines. The gates rang like an enormous gong as some projectile struck from the outside. The mana pouring through the wall's interior to reinforce it was like a physical presence in the air. But there was a whining, strained element to it that told me the defensive measure wouldn't hold out much longer as hoped. Okay, so they're trying to get through the gates. A scream punctuated through the resounding crash at the gates, and a man plunged down the inside of the wall, only to be caught moments before striking the ground by a condensed cloud of wind and water. Outside the gate, I heard the earth shifting and the stone grinding against stone. The gates burst apart as an enormous black iron spike ripped through it, large enough and with so much force that it cracked the foundations of the wall around it. So, black orange spike. We know who can do the spikes. So it's got to be a scythe, I'm thinking. It's got to be. I don't know if the one dude who used to train, or the one dude who Sarah used to train, one of her other proteges or whatever, I don't know if he could use spikes. I can't remember if he used spikes with his fight with Kara. But so they got through the gates. As one, the defenders flinched back. Many had already conjured shields or other protective barriers that saved many lives. What? Oh, but the giant spike split into hundreds of spear-sized silvers, scattering death like so many thrown dice. Stone burst, mana cracked and collapsed, and ice shattered as the spears carved a bloody swath through our number. That's wild. Crawling to my feet, having thrown myself beneath a barrage of black iron spikes, or black iron spears, I stared through the newly punched opening. Hundreds of Alacrians were charging toward us, weapons and spells raised. Outside the shattered gates, the battlefield was littered with gleaming shards of some black crystal. The lance kneeled amidst the wreckage. She seemed stunned, as if she had taken a mighty blow. Wait, what the fuck happened to Micah? Crawling to my feet, having thrown myself beneath the barrage of the black iron spears, I stared through the newly punched opening. Hundreds of Elacrians were charging toward us, weapons and spells raised. Outside the shattered gates, the battlefield was littered with gleaming shards of some black crystal. So the battlefield was littered with gleaming shards of black crystal. So Micah with the black crystal, I think? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It has to be a scythe. That's what I'm thinking. Because I don't know who else can do the black spikes other than Uto, who was a retainer, Nico, who was a scythe, and that's it with the black spikes. Because I don't think anybody else can. That's not a scythe. Anyway, so maybe these black crystals has something to do with Micah. Maybe she tried to use the black crystals to protect the people, and it didn't work, and so now it's just shattered gleams of black crystal, and she's kind of like understanding like how many people she let die, maybe. The lance kneeled amongst the wreckage. She seemed stunned, as if she'd taken a mighty blow. As I wavered on whether or not to rush to her side, the shattered remnants of crystal began to rise and fly to her, snapping onto place all over her body like plates of armor. She stood in a wall of gravity, visible as a distortion in the air that raced ahead of her, pulling the dust to the ground and crushing the soil down several inches. Gravity is a cool ass ability, man. You can do so much shit with gravity. You really can. But I think one thing that's really good about the gravity is that how it affects other people, not just yourself, right? But then you can also have zero gravity and just like fly too, if you can master it, right? But yeah, gravity can do a lot of shit. That's kind of my point. But so she's using the black crystal like armor. So yeah, distortion in the air that raced ahead of her. She's crushing the soil several inches, barreled out toward the approaching soldiers. The hard-packed ground moved beneath her feet. The 5 black fingers curled up from the soil, closing in around her like a fist. She raised one arm, and a huge stone hammer was suddenly clenching in her fist. She swung it straight down into the metal palm with all her might. Stone and metal screeched as both hammer and a conjured appendage shattered. But the gravity wave had been interrupted, subsiding just before striking the charging army. But the gravity wave had been interrupted, subsiding just before striking the charging army. Lance Micah cast a calculating look back through the tunnel mouth, and then she was flying through it at speed, back into our ring of defenders. "For the Cathan!" she bellowed, hovering 10 feet in the air above us, her hammer gripped in both hands. "For the Cathan!" the adventurers shouted in response, their voices resounding through the fortification. A gout of green flame, we got green flames, spread out ahead of the charging Elacrians, burning away the thickly tangled vines. Then an obscuring mist spilled out of the tunnel mouth, hiding the enemy from sight. An instant later, spells began firing out at us. As one, our cohort returned fire, dumping everything we had into the gap. "Choke the breach with the bodies of their dead," Lance Micah growled. Suddenly the mist fell out of the very air, revealing the progressing soldiers, hidden behind their conjured shields. They struggled to progress forward, their feet dragging across the ground as if they couldn't lift them. An answering bellow came from within the tunnel, and then the horned man burst out, flying over the Elacrian soldiers and colliding with the lance. The two crashed through the wall of a nearby building and vanished from sight as the Elacrians were once again speeding forward. Okay, so she was trying to slow him down and shit. But she got attacked by the scythe / retainer. But remember, they could barely take on a retainer. So, I mean, but then again, this really showed like how much stronger they actually got. You know, she did say that she was doing something before she was cut off, though. So over the Alacrian soldiers and colliding with the lance. The two crashed through the wall of a nearby building and vanished from sight as the Alacrians were once again speeding forward. So she was slowing them down and are speeding forward again. Ducking beneath a beam of orange fire attribute mana, I darted forward and threw myself at the first enemy I reached. A panel of mana appeared just where I struck. Catching the blow and turning it aside. He raised the spear in response, thrusting in turn at my ribs. Whirling, I caught the spear on one dagger and moved it aside as I tossed the other dagger in the opposite direction. A panel of mana appeared to protect a different Alacrian soldier, but the dagger held within a fist of air attribute mana curved around behind my target and drove in between his shoulder blades. The spear went limp in his grasp. Then my first dagger sank into his chest. With a twist of mana, the dagger in his back leapt to my hand. Recalling everything I had been taught about how the Alacrians fought and the way their battle groups were structured, I searched for their shields, those mages who focus on protecting the others. All over the battlefield, swirling barriers of fire and wind appeared to deflect spells and blows of my allies, and we were quickly losing the game of numbers as more and more Alacrians poured through. As I ducked past the caster, slinging bolts of condensed lightning, a building behind us exploded outward, raining rubble down on the battlefield. From the corner of my eye, must be Micah fighting the scythe, I'm thinking, I saw Lance Micah swing her hammer with enough force to distort the air around her, and each blocked blow seemed to ripple outward from the impact and send tremors through my bones. Her opponent, a scythe, I was certain, deflected the blows with a towering shield of black iron that rang like a giant bell with each strike. He wore a look of ecstasy, reveling in the combat. Thankfully, he had eyes only for her, but I had no time to gawk at their fight. A striker closed in on me, orbs of white-blue lightning spinning around them. A gusting barrier of wind moved with them, and it's gotta be Dragoth, right? Like, there's not that. He's like the only male scythe that's left, right? Because Cadell got killed, and it was Melsry, Viessa. Yeah, it was Melsry, Viessa, Cadell, Ceres, and Dragoth, and Nico, quote unquote. I think Arthur and his team studied how they like to fight. Yeah, I mean that's what. But yeah, Arthur was teaching them how they fought from the jump. Remember, he was fighting because once he got back from Alacri, he started teaching them and telling them about everything that he had learned, and not even just that. Like he was studying how they fought back when he was with. What the hell was the one teacher's name? I can't think. Her name is like right on the tip of my. It's like right there. I can't think of her name, but she could control like the glass and shit. I think using like wind and fire or some shit like that. Fire and wind or fire and earth or some shit. What the hell was her name? What was her name? But anyway, when he was fighting with them on the front lines and all that shit was happening, he was trying to tell them all to, tell them about, they had people in the background, waiting for an opening to have like a killing blow and shit like that. So yeah, they've been preparing, but at the end of the day, they can prepare all they want. You still got to be able to take out the people that you're trying to kill, though. Even if you know that they're where they're at, you got to be able to take them out. So recalling everything she'd been taught. Okay, the Alacrians poured through. As I ducked past the caster, slinging bolts of condensed lightning, a building behind her, exploded, blah, blah. Her opponent, Scythe, the striker, closed in on me. I leapt back, imbuing mana in both daggers as I looked past the striker to the rest of his battle group. Oh, wait. I think I missed. A gusting barrier of wind moved with them and not far behind. A caster channeling mana into a fiery bolts fixed on me with a dire stare. As the striker swung with his bare fist, the lightning orbs moved in an echo of the blow. I leapt back, imbuing mana in both daggers as I looked past the striker to the rest of his battle group. The twin daggers flew, curving out around either side of the striker, one arcing toward the caster while the other flew farther, aimed at the shield's core. The wind enveloping the striker pulled away in a cyclone of dust, flying even faster than my weapons to intercept them. At the same time, I lunged forward, pushing a burst of air attribute mana in front of me to knock the striker off balance. His orbiting balls of lightning cast about in the wind like fireflies, and I fitted between them to drive a wind-wrapped fist into his solar plexus. My daggers, which had been hurled off course by the wind spells, hurled off course by the windshield spell, flew right back into my hands as I rolled past the gasping striker. A single quick slash across his exposed back finished the man, and I bore down on the caster, whose flaming bolts pelted at me with dangerous speed. Okay, cool. So she took out the one, and then she got the other one with the bolts, the lightning bolts or the fire bolts, the flaming bolts, pelted at me with dangerous speed. Off to my right, 2 battle groups broke and fled into the town. There weren't enough defenders to stop them. Cursing, I deflected 1 bolt, let a second glance off my shoulders, and then dove between 3 more. My blaze leading the way. The barrier of wind caught my forward momentum, sending me into a full backflip as I landed. I flicked out with the right hand dagger. The barrier jumped again, moving between me and the shield, but the move had been a feint. Instead, the left dagger launched from my hand, propelled to lethal force by a gust of air attribute mana. The barrier lurched, trying to move back into place to protect the caster, but too late, and the man choked in pain and surprise as the blade punctured his chest, shearing right through him before spinning around to the right and embedding itself into the shield's side. Wait. Did she kill 2 at the same time? So, hold on. The barrier, so it was a feint. She did a feint. The barrier lurched, trying to move back into the place to protect the caster. Because you got the shield and you got the caster. Into place to protect the caster, but too late. The man choked in pain and surprise as the blade punctured his chest, sheared straight through him, and then spun around to the right and embedded itself into the shield's side. So I think when they're saying it's the shield side, not the actual shield, I think they're talking about the person who's like the shield to protect the caster. So I think she just hit 2 people in a row. That's crazy. That's pretty damn cool. The cyclone of protective wind wavered, and I ran through it, jumping and planting my knees on the shield's chest, driving him to the ground, even as my second dagger opened his unprotected throat. That's some lethal ass shit, man. What you saying, Vasquez? I think 1 female scythe is alive or surviving the battle. Or what? Service the battle. Arthur, Sylvie and the half, Phoenix and the Jinn. Melzri still alive because I think Cecilia was going to kill her or some shit like that, and she decided not to. Back when she was trying to get to Agrona, some shit like that. Melzri's alive. She was very, very upset that Viessa had ended up dying. And Melzri was considered, like, I guess, Agrona's, like, favorite or whatever the fuck. Anyway, so let me keep going. The wall trembled above me as the lance and scythe slammed into it, bounced off its surface and slammed into it again. The flow of mana into and through the wall's physical structure pulsed rapidly, and the hail-sized bits of stone rained down on the interior town, clacking off rooftops and bouncing across the street. A few bodies tumbled from the wall's top with them, landing with a wet crunch. As I searched for my next target, I could only hope that Helen was not among them. More Alacrian battle groups had broken away, running into houses or along the base of the wall instead of continuing forward into the line of defenders. Dozens of adventurers had advanced behind me. The street was slick with blood, both Alacrians and Dicathians. Bodies strewn about like felled trees across or after a hurricane. "Pin them in," I shouted, projecting my voice with a burst of wind mana through my lungs. "We can't let them have the run of the walls." My mind turned to the mages whose efforts had been feeding mana into the wall, the source of the reinforcing magic. "And send extra men to guard the support team." Most of those mages were no longer fit to fight, too wounded from the previous battles, but still able to channel mana. More adventurers were finally arriving from down the long series of stairs that zigzagged through the wall's interior. I pointed out the direction of the enemy troops and shouted orders where it seemed appropriate. Most knew me, and those that did were quick to comply. This wasn't my first battle in the wall, after all. I didn't like to think of my time here just after the first war. and I enjoyed my memories of the battle against the army of corrupted mana beasts even less. The battle where Reynolds had died, but I knew the fortifications, and I'd seen the Alacrian strategy before. This was different. They didn't have the manpower. They were pinching their forces through the narrow gates and then scattering, a strategy that would get them into the fortification, but never allow them to keep it. Their losses were too great, even with the scythe present to punch a hole in the wall for them. Hunt down and take care of the stragglers, I told several adventurers from Black Bend as they charged down the street toward us. They're searching for where he's hidden. Don't let them find it. Root them out. Yeah, that's of course, that's their strategy. The strategy is to find them, so it don't matter if they end up getting killed or some shit like that in the process. But yeah, they're searching for them though. They're searching. So let's see what this how this unfolds. So root them out. Don't let them find them. Running back into the fray, I cut down a striker standing over a fallen adventurer, a young man no older than 16. Helping the boy to stand, I indicated that he follow me. Press forward to the gate. We have to close it off. Men and women rallied behind me, shouting their war cries, and we surged into the press of Alacrian forces that were the Alacrian forces. Wait, what? And we surged into the press of Alacrian forcing. Okay, I read that wrong. And we surged into the press of Alacrians, forcing their way through the rubble of the gate and the collapsing arch that had once held it. Behind us, a 3-story inn collapsed as a wave of force radiated out from where Lance Micah and the Scythe fought back and forth through the air over the town. I focused on headhunting their shields, flowing past the fighters like wind over rocks to bring down the men and women that kept them safe. Without the practice or natural talent for cladding themselves in protective manner, my adventurers made short work of them without their shields. As we made headway, their force began to clog up the tunnel, stuck there, unable to progress forward against the backs of the soldiers in front of them. A few of the adventurers threw spells into the tunnel, trying to take advantage of having them so cramped together, but the density of shields made any such attack nearly impossible. All through town, I could hear the sounds of battle as our people hunted down those who had spilled past us. Their assault was flagging, the intensity of it diminishing each second that they struggled to force their way through the gates, and with each body that piled up only adding to the barrier. There was a lull, and I realized with some disorientation that I'd been turning out the cacophony of crashes and explosions that were issuing from Lance Micah's battle with the Scythe. Looking up, I saw her wrapped in a mid-air wrestling match with the much, much larger man. His shield was gone, as was her hammer, and they grappled each other barehanded. She had one of his arms caught in the crook of her elbow, her fingers clamped tight around his wrist, while her legs wrapped around his other arm. Her right hand twisted one of his horns, yanking his neck around viciously. For this part, the Scythe's body was trembling with barely constrained power. The pounding of his pulse could be felt with the waves of mana hammering down on us, thudding in my chest with more force than my own heartbeat. His lips curled back in a sneer, and his arms closed inch by inch. I suddenly feared that he would tear the lance in half. Then, like a sound like thunder, his horns snapped. The burst of mana that dragged out in a sphere threw me to the ground and struck the side of the wall with such force that it collapsed in on itself, the reinforcing mana finally ceasing and failing entirely. So she snapped off his horn. That's pretty crazy. Snapping off his horn. Let me close this really quick. Okay. Snapping off his horn. So snapping off his horn is wild. But, I mean, if you think about it, you know that she's gotten stronger just because of the simple fact that she would never have lasted this long against a Scythe. I mean, I don't know how long they've been fighting, maybe 10 minutes or so, but she wouldn't have lasted this long if she wasn't a lot stronger. So she's definitely holding her own, which is good. It's good that they're holding her own. I remember I made a poll, and I asked you guys if you thought that the Lancers was going to reach integration stage. And like 90+% of you said yes, and I was like, what? Yeah, I think they're going to. And so I don't think so, but But I was surprised that you guys thought that they were going to reach integration stage because I couldn't see it happening. I think that's just that would just make them way too powerful and way too powerful too quickly. And I think the fight will be over before they can gather up enough time to be able to get that strong. I think they could eventually get there, but I think that the war is going to be over before they try to get there though. I can maybe see in one, maybe possibly get to that point before the war is over, but not the three of them, not at all. But I still think even one of them doing it is a long shot. But anyway, that's what it made me think about. So she broke off his horn, and then the burst of mana, it struck the side of the wall. I watched with horror as a crack ran from the gate tunnel all the way to the top of the wall. Stone shifted with a noise like an earthquake, then collapsed downward, a 15-foot wide section of the wall falling into the void of the tunnel. Distantly, barely visible through the ensuing cloud of dust, bodies were tumbling down from the stone. "Move! Move!" I shouted, scrambling back to my feet and sprinting away as the boulders bounced over the rubble and out into the street, demolishing houses and crushing entire battle groups of Alacrians. Above it all, the lance had released the scythe. I could feel the wall of mana radiating out from her as she attempted to catch and stabilize the rockfall, both preventing it from taking down the rest of the wall with it and from swallowing half our forces. So the wall is like about to crumble down. If it crumbles down and hits them, it's going to take out half their forces. So Micah is trying to stop it from happening. So the one-horned scythe reeled back and nearly tumbling from the sky, his broad face a mask of disbelief and agony. His right arm hung limply, badly broken, and he wept dark blood from dozens of wounds. Audible even after the collapsing wall, a horn suddenly sounded. It was a deep reverberating that came up through the soles of my feet, vibrating my teeth and pummeling me behind my eyes. The scythe's shocked eyes searched the ground before he spun and shot off into the air, flying up and over the wall and vanishing from sight. So I guess they had the horn. I wonder what the horn signified, though. Did the horn signify that they figured out that he's not there? Or did the horn signify that you did your job, now it's time for you to retreat? Maybe they were just like a distraction. I wonder what the horn signifies, though. So he flew, vanishing out of sight. I couldn't see any surviving Alacrians on this side of the wall, and there would be little left of those who had been inside the tunnel when it collapsed. Although I couldn't see them, I could sense enough of their mana signatures to know that those outside the fortifications were turning in flame back to the Beastglades. My mind reeled. The attack had come on like a summer storm and ended just as quickly. I guess where they got the summer storm name from, and ended just as quickly. But why? My gaze drifted to the bullet, or it could mean that they figured it out. Yeah, I said that earlier. They either figured out that he's not there, or they got what they came for, or it was a distraction and they just needed to leave. I don't know. Cheers. My gaze drifted back to the bullish horn, still clutched in the struggling lance's hand. But it hadn't been the scythe who had signaled the retreat. Cheers went up around me as people started to realize that we won and they survived. I could hear them all the way from the top of the wall, closest to me. The cheers became shouts for the lance, her name repeated over and over. I could tell with a simple look that no answers to my questions would come from her. However, the armor she had conjured around herself, made up of interlocking plates of black crystal spell that had been shattered earlier, was in ruins. Blood covering as much of her body as the remnants of her armor. Her mana signature was fading and spiking dangerously, and her one eye stared around as if she were in a daze, only half hearing the cheers. My feet began carrying me, so she's probably about to collapse, and she's got to try to catch her or some shit like that, right? Because isn't she still like flying in the air? My feet began carrying me away from the collapsed gates toward a nondescript door in the base of the wall, one of many that allow access to the forages and other essential operations held within the broad wall itself. As the cheers faded behind me, I had the unshakable thought that they were somehow unearned. The door was open, and Silver soldiers and Alacrians both, lie dead in a plain stone room. So they got what they came for, or they found what they were looking for, or whatever the fuck. That's what it seems like. So whatever door or area that they tried to go to. So the door was open, and several soldiers, Alacrians and Dicathian both, lay dead in the plain stone room beyond. Following a tunnel into a series of identical labyrinth passageways, I made my way down into the bowels, picking up speed as I went until I was practically jumping down the stairs. Reaching a lower landing, I found what should have been a secret door hanging off its hinges, smashed inward. The stone face shattered. Beyond the door, a narrow, hidden stairs went down in a different direction. So this is where he was going to potentially be hiding. On a while put quote. Okay, this is where he was potentially hiding. That's what I did the quote. But they didn't know though. Like Jasmine, they didn't know. They thought that they were protecting Arthur. So I wonder what she's going to think. I wonder what she's going to say. I wonder if she's going to think like, oh my God, we lost. You know, they got him. You know, or something like that. I don't know. So the door was open. And reaching the lower landing, I found that it should have been a secret door hanging off its hinges, smashed inward. The stone face shattered. Beyond the door, a narrow, hidden stairs went down in a different direction. Conjuring a gusting barrier of wind that ran just over my skin, I gripped my daggers tightly and proceeded down the hidden stairway, circling around and around as it took me into the bedrock on which the wall had been built. Below, I could only sense one mana signature alongside. Something other. Taking a deep breath, I jumped down the final stairs, preparing to face whoever was waiting below. But I was brought up short with a gasp. The guard chamber, beyond the vault itself, locked and barred, both physically and magically, lay open. So the guard chamber, beyond the vault itself, locked and barred, physically and magically lay open. The room beyond was slick with blood and littered with the corpses of those who had been set here as a last line of defense. The room beyond was... Who the fuck did it, though? It might have been one of the wraiths. Because, you know, the wraiths are really good at, like, hiding themselves. So probably, Micah probably couldn't have sensed anything because of them hiding their mana signature. They probably found the opening, went through, you know, went down the steps or whatever, killed everybody that was protecting it, opened up the door, and then realized that he wasn't there. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. So the room was slick with blood and littered with the corpses of those who had been set here as a last line of defense. Durden? I asked, my voice high and tight. My knuckles went white around the hilts of my daggers. Durden looked up at me from where he sat in the blood. How the fuck is Durden alive? Man, it don't make any sense for Durden. If everybody else is dead, why the fuck is Durden alive? Only thing I can think of is just like, okay, they were fighting, they realized they were outmatched, but the person that was there wasn't trying to kill everyone, they just wanted to open up the door. So their main focus was to open the door, find Arthur, figured out that he wasn't there, and they just immediately left. They didn't even want to take out any of the other humans that was there. But that wouldn't make any sense though, because we know that the wraiths and shit, they're all vicious and shit, and they like killing people and blood and all that shit. So they would have been like pissed off that he wasn't there, and then would have killed him before leaving. It probably wouldn't have taken any effort. So it don't make sense for Durden to even be alive. Durden? I asked, my voice high and tight. My knuckles went white around the hilts of my daggers. Durden looked up at me from where he sat in the blood. His face was smeared with scarlet, as was his arm, and the prone form pulled roughly onto his lap. Wait. Maybe I'm reading. Durden looked up at me. So is this motherfucker just dead with his eyes open? Durden looked up at me from where he sat in the blood. His face was smeared with scarlet, as was his arm, and the prone form pulled roughly into his lap. Prone form pulled roughly into his lap. It took a moment to see the features beneath all the blood, and I felt myself harden against the reality, wrenching my gaze up and away from the sight. So he is dead. He is dead. Yo. Damn. Okay. That's reality, though. That's reality. You said, who is Durden? Durden is one of the what the fuck are they called? The Twin Horns or whatever. He's one of the Twin Horns. So he's like, best friends with Arthur's dad, Reynolds. He was the one that was there when Reynolds ended up dying, and Durden ended up losing one arm on the fight against the wall. He lost one arm, and and Reynolds ended up dying because they were all fighting and shit. So yeah, he's part of the Twin Horns group. You got Durden. He's like a big ass giant guy, but he's like a teddy bear because he's like really nice and shit. So yeah, so Durden. You got Helen, you got Jasmine, you got what's her face, who was the leader. You got Alice. Yes, kind of, sort of Alice, but yeah, Durden's gone, man. That's fucked. When I read it, I thought that he stood up from the blood and he was looking, and I was like, what? How the fuck he gonna survive? No, he's dead. So wrenching my gaze up and away from the sight, I looked past the outer chamber to the vault door Senyar had crafted. It hung slightly ajar, and a silvery pink light was spilling out to reflect off the crimson pools. Stepping past Durden, who I could feel watching me, his heart... What? Stepping past Durden, who I could feel watching me, his heartbroken gaze attempted to find solace in my empathy. I'm confused. Is he dead or is he not dead? How is he watching her? Wrenching my gaze up and away from the sight, I looked past the outer chamber to the vault door Senyar had crafted. It hung slightly ajar, and a silvery pink light was spilling out to reflect off the crimson pools. Stepping past Durden, who I could feel watching me, his heart, maybe watching her from the afterlife is what she's talking about. His heartbroken gaze attempted to find solace in my empathy, but I couldn't afford to give it, not in that moment. I approached the vault door carefully, my blades ready, already imbued with cutting wind that spiraled around the blades. Arthur? I asked, feeling foolish. I knew better than to hope. Still, I nudged open the vault door, which protested, its hinges twisted. Inside was the same plain room I had watched Arthur step into a day earlier. Some kind of mana construct now glowed from atop the metal pedestal. Yeah, some kind of mana construct now glowed from atop the metal pedestal that Senyar had placed at the center of the room. The elongated orb filled the bowl that capped the pedestal, and itself seemed to be filled with a rich purple energy that glowed out through the pure mana, giving the room its pink tinge. Arthur wasn't there. A cold realization spread from my guts outward, numbing me from the inside. Turning my back on the beacon, I returned to the guard room, my boots splashing in the lifeblood of those who watched over this empty chamber. Light rushed steps on the stairs drew my attention past Durden once again, who was no longer looking at me or looking to me for support. Helen, oh shit. Helen practically jumped down the last flight, just as I had, and she too gasped at what she saw. Through the noise, though the noise she made was choked with an emotion I had been suppressing. Now, though, I kneeled beside Durden and carefully wiped away the blood that shrouded Angela Rose's features. Her eyes stared lifelessly. Angela died too? Yo! Damn. So Helen, if I remember this shit right, Helen is the leader of the twin horns. And then you got Angela Rose, right? Angela Rose, the one with the titties. And then you got Durden. And then you got Jasmine. That's it. So Durden's dead. And then she said that she wiped away the blood that shrouded Angela Rose's features. Her eyes stared lifelessly. Angela Rose is gone, bruh. And it was that, more than anything, that broke through the hard shell I was trying to maintain. Those eyes and life so bright and full of teasing amusement, now empty of their spark. With a shaking hand, I pulled down the lids, telling myself it would look like she was sleeping, even though I knew it wasn't true. Durden opened his mouth to speak, but I'm so lost, bro. So Durden's alive. I went from, bro. I went from Durden is alive, and then I'm just like, oh, Durden is dead, and then now it's like Durden's alive. He opened his mouth to speak. How is he opening his mouth to speak? But only a raw moan of pure condensed lamination or lamentation. How the fuck do you say this fucking word? Lamentation? Let's ask Google really quick. Lamentation. Even though that shit don't make any sense because it got T-A and then T-I-O-N. That's not how you spell tation, is it? Maybe it is tation. T-A-T-I-O-N. Tation. But think about the English language, right? You hear tation, and you would think that it might be an S, cause tation, like shin, like Sunjin Woo. Not Sunjin Woo. What the fuck am I trying to say? Like shin, like I don't know, from like shin from like Hishin unit, and I can't even think of the fucking name of the story. What the fuck is the name of the story? The unification of China. What the fuck is it called? Kingdom. That's what it's called. Kingdom. So think about Shin, right? You would think Shin is start with an S, but it's a limitation. But the Shin is a T. It doesn't make any fucking sense. But anyway. So where we at? So Durden opened his mouth to speak, but only a raw moan of pure condensed lamentation, blood from his lips. And so Anthony, let's see, Durden not died. He was holding Angela. So that's what it was. Let me reread this because I did not get that from reading it. Let me go back really quick and read this. Okay, so the guard chamber beyond the vault itself, locked and barred, both physically and magically lay open. The room beyond was slick with blood and littered with corpses of those who had been set here as a last line of defense. Durden, I asked, my voice high and tight. My knuckles went white around the hilts of my daggers. When she said Durden, I immediately thought that he was alive. And I'm just like, how the fuck is he alive if some strong ass wraith or some shit like that came there and killed them, but left him alive, opened up the door, found Arthur wasn't alive? You telling me when he found out Arthur wasn't there, that person wasn't pissed off and ended up finishing Durden off before he left? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. He would have finished him off. He would have been pissed like, fuck, he's not here, you motherfucker, and just like, like that one makes the most sense. And then Durden looked up at me from where he sat in the blood, and I was like, oh yeah, he's alive. But then I was like, wait, maybe he's lying on his back like he's lying in his own blood? Durden looked at me from where he sat in the blood. His face was smeared with scarlet. So his face was smeared with blood, as was his arm and the prone form. Oh, so the prone, I was wondering what that meant, the prone form. Like they should have said body. That's what they should have said. They should have said, and the body that was in his arms. And I was like, oh, he's holding the body. Who is he holding? They said the prone form. Like, what the fuck is a prone form? And the prone form pulled roughly into his lap. I thought that was like his arm or some shit. I don't fucking know. And it took a moment to see his features beneath all the blood. And I felt myself harden against the reality. And when he said that, I was like, oh, okay, he's like sitting up in his own blood and, his face smeared with blood, and then her features hardened against the reality, like the reality that he was dead. Like she was hardening herself, like not letting herself succumb to the emotions, to the fact that he's dead, and she's hardening, and she walked past and went to go see what was inside, and she didn't want to confront it right now. That's what I thought was happening. But no, this motherfucker's been holding the body the entire time alive. That shit makes no sense. It is like you said, he has to be King Grey because of the things Arthur's going to do. Okay, so Richard my gaze up and away from the sight. Right. Oh, up and away from the sight, like meaning that she was wrenching her gaze up and away from the sight of Durden, dead, lying there in his prone form, covered in blood. You know, like I can't be the only one that got confused by that shit. But now it makes more sense though. So it was Angela Rose. So now, though, I kneeled beside Durden and carefully wiped away the blood that shrouded Angela Rose's features. Her eyes stared lifelessly. And it was that, more than anything else, that broke through the hard shell I was trying to maintain. Those eyes, in life so bright and full of tease and amusement, now empty of their spark. With a shaking hand, I pulled down the lids, telling myself it would look like she was just sleeping, even though I knew it wasn't true. Durden opened his mouth to speak, but only a raw moan of pure condensed lamentation bled from his lips. Arthur? Helen asked, her voice strained as she took a faltering step forward. I swallowed heavily, standing suddenly and striding away from the rest of the twin horns. Both of them that remained, hopefully fine, wherever he is, but he's not here, and he never was. Okay. This is a pretty short chapter. It was a pretty short chapter. At least it felt really short. It felt really short. Bruh, listen. If Durden was there as the last line of defense to protect Arthur, right? There's no way he should be alive. You're telling she didn't mention anybody else there. There's just like a shit ton of blood. And Durden is alive? Durden is alive? Everybody else dead. But he's going to leave Durden alive. You know, it would have been more believable if it was like some random ass soldier who was like there and he was like covered in blood, everybody else's blood. He thought he was dead. He wasn't really dead. You know, he got some wounds and shit. Maybe he passed out and then woke up. Or they was like, you know, they was grieving over Durden and Angela, and they heard a movement, and then they looked over, and it was like one of the soldiers, and he was like alive and shit, and then they found one soldier alive. That would make more sense, right? Somebody got hurt, they went down, passed out, then woke up, and, you know, one person survived. But Durden just alive holding Angela, and he wasn't pissed after finding out that Arthur wasn't there, and before he left, just easily just like boom, just one little swipe, one little spike, one little anything. All he had to do was flick his wrist, and Durden would have been dead. But no, Durden's alive holding Angela. Don't make any sense. I'm just saying, it don't make sense. It's stupid, honestly. Why is Durden alive? Just so that maybe one of the twin horns survived the whole entire story or something? Like, it don't make sense. It don't make sense, bro. It don't make sense. It was like blah blah. It is war. Some sacrifice has to be made. Yeah, of course. That's when a story gets unbelievable. When you start reading these stories where you have like all these stakes, you know, the world is at stake and you got all these battles and shit going on, and the only people who die during the war is fodder ass side characters that you barely even know, and we're supposed to be like, oh my god, this side character who we barely, I mean, we don't really know Durden like that. Like, Durden is like a very, like, Angela had more screen time, quote unquote screen time, book time. How about book time? Angela had more book time than Durden did, you know, because Angela was like, wasn't Angela teaching Ellie, or was it Helen that was teaching Ellie? I think it might have been Helen that was teaching Ellie. But yeah, man, like, I don't see the point of him being alive. Like, they could easily just find him dead in there. Maybe, you know what it could be? This would have been really cool too. If they would have done something like, Jasmine came there and then found Durden dead but like holding Angela, like trying to protect her, and like, you know, he's dead, but like he was trying to protect her, and then maybe Angela's alive, and the Scythe didn't know, you know, so and like Durden, like, you know, protected her in the end, and, you know, died, but like she didn't. They did it something like that. That would make a little bit more sense to me. Like, okay, he died trying to protect her, and, you know, she was passed out, so that's why he didn't know that she was alive. And so, you know, they found like Durden on top of her or some shit like that, and then they tried to flip him over, and they saw his lifeless eyes, and then, you know, oh my God, he's dead. And then they thought that Angela was dead, but then they check her pulse, and they're like, oh my God, she's still alive. Get a healer. We need a medic. You know, that would make more sense. But him just sitting there cradling her, like, that shit don't make sense, yo. It don't make sense. So, you know what? What I just laid out, that's what happened. Durden tried to protect her, and he died, and Angela's alive. That's what's happened. Angela's alive and Durden's dead. I just made it. It's a reality. Anyway. Angela was holding the blondie, always hugging Arthur in every screen. Yeah, exactly. She was the one with the, you know, well-endowedness, you know, smashing her face, or smashing Arthur's face into the goodies, you know. That's kind of was her role, you know. But yeah, so Angela's dead. Sad moment, you know. But Durden should be dead too. And it should be more sad. And then what it should be is, it should be Helen, which is the bow and arrow chick, and then Jasmine, which is the, you know, Flamesworth. She uses wind and can't use fire. They should be the last two of the Twin Horns, not including Alice. You know, because Alice, like, they, you know, Alice and Reynolds quit, you know. So they should be the last two. So she should be looking at Helen like, you know, we're the only two of the Twin Horns left. You know, that's what should be happening, but it just doesn't make any fucking, like, why wouldn't he just have Durden die there? Like, it would make a lot more sense. Like, and then, like I said, including the fact that these wraiths and shit, they're all vicious. Like, they will kill you without even thinking twice. That they don't value your life. Like, why wouldn't the wraith just kill everybody there? Like, why would he leave anybody alive? You know, so I don't know. Maybe he's alive because he has some rock magic to protect himself. I don't know, man. He's the only sturdy guy there. I mean, yeah, but like everybody else is dead though. You know, everybody else is dead. Like, I don't get it. I mean, as far as strength goes, he was probably a little bit stronger than Angela. I don't even remember what Angela could actually do, to be honest. I don't even remember what the fuck she could do as far as like magic and stuff. But yeah, it just don't make sense. I mean, it's not as bad as, you know, Aldir killing himself. It's not as bad as that, but like, it's just kind of stupid to me. That's all I'm trying to say. It was just kind of stupid. She conjured wind magic, I think. Yeah, I think she might have conjured some wind. But yeah. It don't make it. I don't see what it does. Durden being alive, I don't see how it affects anybody in the story. Like, Arthur's gonna be sad that Angela's dead. He's gonna be sad if Durden's dead. He's gonna also understand that, you know, this was the consequences of him doing his you know, his plan, and that people's lives are gonna be, you know, they're gonna die. You know, it's just kind of the consequence of it. So Durden being alive, I don't see how that changes anything at all. At all. Like, he's not really smart. He can't help Gideon out with no, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if Emily stayed alive, I would be like, okay, I can see why she stayed alive, because, you know, she needs to help Gideon out with all the shit that she does, and, you know, there's a reason for her being alive. But Durden don't do shit. Durden's like an average fighter. Like, what is he, like, yellow core? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Durden, you know, like, what? I don't know. I don't know, bro. Yeah. As far as the Twin Horns, the one I care about, I mean, he's built Jasmine up to be a character that you care about, you know. He said something about, I think Tony said something about he got his whole, like, second story that he wanted to do all with just Jasmine or whatever. So he really likes Jasmine as a character. And then she's got some depth to her because we know about her parents, and the Flamesworth family and her father and all that shit that happened at the wall. So, you know, there's some layers, there's some history to it. Angela, we don't know shit about her family. Durden, we don't know shit about, you know, him, the family. Even Helen, we don't really know shit about, you know. So Jasmine was the focus on, like, you know, the person that we got to know the most. You know, even after Arthur grew up, whatever, he had alone time with Jasmine. You know, back when he was on the wall and shit, and Jasmine was there and shit like that. Like, he had alone time with Jasmine. So Jasmine is the character. And then we know that Jasmine saved the one little girl, whatever, in the forest, in the one 8.5 story or whatever. So yeah, so Jasmine's like the only person that we actually can care about. Helen, you know, Helen's Helen, whatever. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Arthur and Note was with Jasmine. Yeah, you right too. Yeah, because he took her where. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, they had a whole you know, tag team little adventure. You know, getting stronger and shit. And the Beastglades. I forgot all about that shit. Yeah, Jasmine's been the main focus from day one. Because he's the one that picked her to go over everybody else. So yeah, and also she's the youngest too. Let's also not forget about that. She's the youngest out of all the twin horns too. So yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, it'd be a sad day when she dies. But like Durden and Angela, like they both should have been like, I don't know, you know, cuddling each other, both dead together. You know, they kind of went out together. You know, that would have been. I thought that would have been cool. But yeah, you're right. They had went to the Beastglades together and shit, so that was cool too. So, but yeah, this chapter seemed kind of short. It seemed kind of short. It went by really fast. But before I go though, I'm gonna give y'all a little update. So, I'm gonna be making a video reviewing that story that I read, The Fourth Wing. I made a little small video talking about it briefly, but I'm gonna make a video reviewing that because that story is it's kind of garbage. I mean, it's not garbage. It's kind of it's just bad. It's not good. And so I kind of want to get on. What I want to do. Here's what I really just want to do. I want to just talk shit about the story. That's kind of what I want to do. I just kind of want to make a video talking about the story and the good things I liked about the story, the things I didn't like about the story, and it's going to be a whole list of things that I didn't like about the story. But I kind of just want to talk about the shit that I didn't like about the story, you know, and just kind of just tell you why I don't like the story. So overall, I give that story like a 3.5 out of 10. Like, it's just not good. It's not good at all. But I did read the second book. I read the first book and I'm just like, you know. And I was like, maybe the second book would be better, you know, because you might read a story and the first book might be like, you know, but in the second book, you get some character development, people grow, somebody who wasn't as annoying in the first story, they grow up and they're not as annoying in the second story, maybe you like them a little bit better, and I was like, okay, maybe the second book, things will get better, but that second book is worse than the first book. I'm just like, yo, I can't do this, bro. So yeah, I just kind of want to talk about that. So I'm going to do that. And then there's this other story that I'm going to start reading. This story is called The Emperor's Blades, written by Brian Stavelli, something like that. So, never heard of this story before ever. It's on the Everend app. I'm gonna start reading this, see what this is all about, and if I like it, I might make a review about it too. Oh, another thing too. I also found out this. So, somebody had mentioned one of my videos in one of their videos, which I thought was cool. But I found out, because I was looking at some other people's reviews on some books and stuff. So I found out that I'm considered what they call a booktuber. And I didn't know this. I'm just like, wait, a booktuber? What the fuck is a booktuber? And so apparently I'm a booktuber because I make videos and read books. So I'm a booktuber. So that's cool. And I didn't know that. So I got to refer to myself as a booktuber now because I make videos about books and I review books and shit. Talk about books. I didn't know they had a name for it. I really didn't. I really didn't know they had a name for it. But booktuber is like a real thing. Like they're literally like, oh yeah, all the other booktubers out there. I'm just like, wait, booktuber? What the fuck is a booktuber? And I was like, oh, that's me. I'm a booktuber. So yeah, so I found that out, and I thought that was kind of funny. But and remember, I said this again. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna mention it every once in a while. I do plan on making videos about the story. What is it called? He who does something. Oh, He Who Fights with Monsters. He Who Fights with Monsters. I plan on making a video and reading that, but not yet. Not yet. Whenever I can get that streaming software up, that's when I'll start doing that. But I do plan on doing that. What are you saying before I get up out of here? What do you think about the Lance's level? Micah kicked Dragoth's ass at least. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so that's what I was interested in finding out too about the Lances. Like, how strong are they? Now, that's a pretty big power jump. I'm not gonna lie. That's a pretty big. Like, I still haven't even made my video about the power levels yet. But yeah, they definitely will be going up. They definitely be going up. Let me look at my notes really quick, because I know I put notes on to power levels, right? I'm gonna spoil some more power levels, because I got power levels for a lot of these. Let me see. Okay, so no, this is wrong. It's not in order. Or am I? Okay, here it is. All right, so I've got the power levels, right? So originally I had Micah, Byron, Varay. They were all in Cyrith. They were all at the same level. I had them all at 18 out of 100. I had them all at 18 out of 100. And they were all at the same level. They were below Melsry, they were below Regis, they were below Sylvie, they were below Viessa, Ceres, Dragoth, all that stuff. So now they're going to have to go up, because she basically fended off Dragoth. She couldn't kill him, but she fended him off. And so, I mean, she's basically like, I would say, like, she's super duper close to him. So I'm guessing if Micah's, and I think Micah's the weakest Lance out of all of them, to be completely honest with you. So if she's like super duper close to Dragoth, to where she can fend him off but not kill him, then I would say Byron and Varay, they're a little bit stronger than her, and they might be able to even kill a Scythe, or fend them off to where they won't let them get away. You know, because she let Dragoth get away. So they might be able to, like, you know, be like deadlocked, like, oh, you're not getting away from me, but I ain't letting you kill me either. You know, that type of thing. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a sizable jump. I think they needed a power up. They needed to be able to get that strong. I wish they would have kind of, like, I don't know, showed them getting stronger. Like, they didn't need to have like a whole like, you know, a whole chapter related to them getting stronger, but like maybe just show some, like, a little scene of them fighting. And because I know Chul was like, oh yeah, you know, you guys are doing pretty good or whatever, when they was like, you know, it was training and stuff. But like, I don't know, but I think it's good. I think they're like close to Scythe level now. They're pretty close, very, very close. So I think that's good. So they're definitely will be raised in my power levels, you know, because I got Dragoth at a 23, and then Varay, Micah, and Byron are at an 18. So that's kind of where I had them at, but they're probably going to go up, you know, to that 23 number, because if you look at Dragoth, I had Dragoth on the sides at a 23, and then I had like Chul at a 30. I had Perhata, that one Wraith who was like the leader of her group or whatever. I had her at a 29. I had Orloff, he was higher than them. Aladari, he was higher than him. Chul was higher. Ren Kane was higher. So Cadell was higher. I put Cadell as the strongest Scythe. So Cadell was like stronger than the rest of them. But yeah, I think that's good. I think it's good where they're at. Yeah, he did lose his horn. That's true. That's true. He did lose that fucking horn. She fucked him up. But he still got away, though. He still got away. You know, like, if you want to consider yourself stronger than the other person, you got to kill him. You got to kill him. You can't just take a horn. Can't just take an eye. Can't just take an arm. You got to kill him. You got to kill him. And you saw Micah. Micah was like about to fucking go on backlash. Like, she said that her mana signature was like fading and shit. So yeah, so she was exhausted. So but yeah, it's good though. But at the end of the day, it's good. That's good that they got that strong. And like I said, Micah's the weakest Lance in my opinion. And so I would think that Byron and Veray would do a little bit better than her. Probably not a whole lot, but like a little bit better than her for sure. Sarah sickle to his horn to make Arthur go through the white cord without the door. Yeah, and she's probably going to use that horn. I just thought about that too. I thought about that while I was reading, but I didn't say anything. But yeah, she's probably going to use that horn and absorb the mana from the horn to try to help even purify her core even more. You know, so I think that's also good too. And it probably help her recovery to get like back into the fight pretty quick. So if they need like some reinforcements at a different location, Micah can fly there, and she ain't got to spend, you know, a few days resting to heal up, whatever. She probably can use the horn, heal up, you know, at a pretty good rate, and then fly off and try to help out. So she can do that too. But anyway, yeah, I appreciate y'all joining in. I'm about to get up out of here. Another hour and a half. I didn't want to go hour and a half, but fucking I did hour and a half. Like I said, check out the next video I make. It'll probably be about that story that you're probably not going to read, but you probably shouldn't read it. So just listen to me rant about how bad the story is. But anyway, I appreciate y'all joining in. Y'all have a good night. Peace.